Have you ever questioned why bad things happen to good people? This is a question as old as time itself, a conundrum that has puzzled philosophers, theologians, and everyday folks alike. It's a question that resonates within us all, because at some point in our lives, we've all witnessed or experienced suffering that seemed undeserved or inexplicable. Now, imagine a book that delves into this exact question, a book that does not shy away from the harsh realities of life, but rather embraces them, stares them in the face, and asks, why? This book is none other than the book of Job in the Bible, a poetic dialogue filled with wisdom, emotion, and profound insights on the human condition. The story of Job is a tale of a man who, from an earthly perspective, had it all. He was prosperous, pious, and well-respected, yet he was subjected to immense suffering. Why? This is the question that the book of Job seeks to explore. The narrative doesn't offer a simple answer. Instead, it invites us into a thought-provoking exploration of the nature of suffering, the role of God in the midst of our pain, and the power of faith and perseverance. It's a story that challenges our preconceived notions, pushes us to think deeper, and compels us to question our understanding of the world. The book of Job is not just a story about one man's suffering. It's a mirror held up to our own lives, reflecting our own struggles, doubts, and questions. It's a story that, despite being thousands of years old, still feels incredibly relevant and relatable today. So are you ready to embark on this journey? Are you prepared to delve into the complexities of suffering, faith, and the human spirit? If so, then let's dive into the story of Job, a man who experienced immense suffering, and discover how he navigated through it. Job was a man of great wealth, integrity, and piety. He was the epitome of prosperity in the land of Uz, a beacon of wealth and success. Job wasn't just a rich man, though. He was also a man of impeccable character, known for his honesty, his fairness, and his compassion for others. But what set Job apart even more was his deep devotion to God. He wasn't just a man who believed in God. He was a man who feared God, who revered him, and who strived every day to live a life that was pleasing to him. Job sought to live righteously, to avoid evil, to serve God with all his heart. He made sacrifices and prayers not only for himself, but also for his children in case they had sinned. Job's life was prosperous, his character upright, and his devotion to God unwavering. But as we'll see, even the righteous are not immune to suffering. In a heavenly court, Satan challenges Job's faith. Thus unfolds a celestial dialogue, a conversation that would set the stage for one of the most profound tests of faith in human history. Picture this: God and Satan engage in a discourse, an exchange that is as intriguing as it is unsettling. Satan, the adversary, questions the source of Job's faithfulness. Does Job fear God for nothing? He asks. He insinuates that Job's piety is merely a byproduct of his prosperity. Satan suggests that Job's faith is conditional, dependent on his wealth and well-being, and would crumble in the face of adversity. God, knowing the heart of Job, disagrees. He understands the depth of Job's faith and the sincerity of his devotion. Yet, in his infinite wisdom, God decides to allow Satan to test Job's faith. There's a caveat though, a divine boundary that Satan must not cross. God commands that Satan can take away Job's possessions and cause misfortune, but he must not harm Job himself. This divine permission sets in motion a series of events that would profoundly affect Job, his family, and his entire world. It's a test of faith, a trial by fire that would push Job to the brink. It's a test that would question the very foundations of his faith, his belief in God's justice, and his understanding of suffering. What's remarkable here is not just the test itself, but the one who permits it. God, in his sovereignty, allows Job's faith to be tested. He permits the trial, not out of spite or indifference, but out of a profound understanding of Job's faith and the ultimate purpose of this test. This test is not just about Job, it's about every one of us. It's about the nature of faith, the essence of suffering, and the ultimate question of why bad things happen to good people. It's a test that has echoed through the ages, resonating in the hearts and minds of believers throughout history. And so, the test of Job's faith begins. Job's life takes a tragic turn. The man who was once the epitome of prosperity and piety now becomes a symbol of suffering. The first blow comes in the form of financial ruin. Job loses his wealth, his livestock, and his servants in a series of unfortunate events. The camels are stolen, the sheep and the servants looking after them are consumed by fire, and the oxen and donkeys are raided. His fortune, once a symbol of his blessed life, vanishes in the blink of an eye. But the financial loss is just the beginning. Soon after, a messenger brings the most devastating news of all. His children, his 7 sons and 3 daughters, are dead. They were feasting in their oldest brother's house when a great wind swept in from the wilderness, collapsing the house and killing everyone inside. Job is left childless, his joy and pride snuffed out in an instant. As if these blows aren't enough, Job is then afflicted with a painful ailment, from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. He is covered with loathsome sores, adding physical agony to his emotional torment. Job is brought to his knees, scraping his sores with a piece of broken pottery, sitting among the ashes. The man who was once the greatest in all the East is now a picture of utter despair. Yet in the midst of this unimaginable suffering, Job does not curse God. His wife urges him to curse God and die, but Job refuses. He rebukes her, saying, "Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil?" Despite the overwhelming pain and loss, Job chooses to maintain his faith. He does not understand why these calamities have befallen him, but he holds on to his trust in God. In the midst of unimaginable pain, Job maintains his faith. His story is a testament to unwavering faith, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we can choose to trust in the divine plan. Job's faith is severely tested, but he remains steadfast. As the story unfolds, we find Job in the midst of a profound struggle. His life, once abundant in wealth and happiness, has been turned upside down. His health is in ruins, his children are gone, and his wealth has vanished. Yet Job's faith in God remains unshaken. In the throes of his anguish, Job's friends come to console him. They sit with him in silence, sharing his grief. But soon they begin to question Job, suggesting that his suffering must be a punishment from God for some hidden sin. They urge Job to confess and seek God's forgiveness. But Job, though he is in pain and despair, knows in his heart that he has been righteous. He maintains his innocence and rebukes his friends for their false assumptions. In his darkest hour, Job turns to God. He doesn't shy away from expressing his confusion, his frustration, and his longing for answers. He questions, he pleads, he even argues. Yet through it all, he never loses his faith. He never stops trusting God. He never stops believing in God's goodness and justice. And it is this persistent faith, this unyielding trust in God, that eventually leads to Job's restoration. God, in his infinite wisdom, sees Job's unwavering faith. He acknowledges Job's righteousness and rebukes his friends for their misguided counsel. And then, in a divine act of grace and mercy, God restores Job's fortunes. Job's life is replenished with blessings more abundant than before. He has more children, more wealth, more livestock. His latter days are blessed more than his beginning, and all this because of his enduring faith. Despite his trials and tribulations, Job never wavered from his faith in God. He stood firm, he trusted, and he was restored. Job's story ends with a testament to his enduring faith. His journey, his struggle, and his restoration serve as a powerful reminder that even in our darkest hours, faith can sustain us, and in God's perfect time, restoration comes. What can we learn from Job's story? We learn about the mystery of suffering, that it is a part of life, sometimes inexplicable, yet always purposeful. Job's story teaches us that suffering isn't always a result of personal sin or failure. Instead, it can be a test of faith, an opportunity for growth, a chance to rely more deeply on God's sovereignty. From Job, we also learn the importance of faithfulness in trials. Job stood steadfast, holding on to his faith even in the depths of despair. His resilience reminds us to keep our faith anchored, even when the winds of hardship blow. Finally, Job's story underscores God's ultimate sovereignty. God is always in control, even when we can't see the full picture. His ways are beyond our understanding, but they are always perfect. So when we face trials, let's remember Job's story and find strength in our faith just as he did. Job's story doesn't end in despair. In fact, it culminates in restoration and reward, a testament to the power of faithfulness and the goodness of God. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. Job 42:12. In the end, Job's faithfulness is rewarded. He gets back everything he lost, and even more. His wealth is doubled. He has another set of 10 children, and he lives to see his descendants to the 4th generation. This is not a promise that every hardship we face will result in material wealth, but rather an assurance that God rewards faithfulness. Despite the trials and tribulations, Job remained steadfast in his faith, never losing sight of God's sovereignty. His story serves as a powerful reminder that no matter what we go through, if we hold firmly onto our faith, we can endure and eventually find restoration. So, remember Job's story in your own moments of hardship. His faith was tested, but he emerged stronger, more blessed, and with a deeper understanding of God's sovereignty. Job's story is a testament to the power of faith in the face of adversity. It teaches us that when we hold steadfast to our faith, we can withstand even the harshest storms and come out stronger on the other side.